Hello everyone, I'm Mike Levin, and today I'm going to talk about connecting to a computer through a terminal. Now traditionally, this is all about two different traditions. Traditionally, as far as the masses and mainstream culture, you connect to a computer and you see its output through a monitor. You interact with it through a keyboard or perhaps a mouse or even these days game controllers. And this is the hardware. Now in this significantly different and much older tradition of interacting with computers, they were used headless. The monitor is a head, and these you don't need. So it's really just the hardware. So the question is, when this hardware is running as a server, doing a job somewhere off, probably in a closet, somewhere where you are physically not near, how in the world do you interact with and control that piece of hardware? Well, these days with Microsoft software, they're using something called remote desktop. Or used to be called terminal server. Now the thing about those technologies is all they really did is they took a image of what's on your monitor here and they just shuttled it off remotely so that you as a user could interact with the computer as if you were sitting right there in front of it. In fact, it even made the keyboard available to you. So from a very remote distance, you can completely control the computer. But this is even a fairly new tradition. Remote desktop is not the way most people controlled computers in the olden days, and to a surprising extent these days, because this picture looks very archaic with tablets and smartphones taking over the personal computer picture. But really, all these things that have an embedded computer, your smart forks, your home Wi-Fi smart routers, your Wi-Fi router, everything wearable, the wristwatches, routers, wearables, and everything embedded. They have a similar characteristic to a modern server in that there is no monitor, there is no keyboard. You're lucky if you can even connect to these things to do anything with them other than the interface that the developers decided to provide you. Well, the way servers used to work is that there was a program and a protocol called telnet. And it was similar to this remote desktop approach, but it was much lower bandwidth, intended to work in the same building, or at most over telephones. And in fact, the way modems used to work is you would take the handset, and you'd place that onto a little platform that transmitted little beeps and squeals over phone lines, so that you could have 300 baud or even lower communication. And what shows here is not pretty graphics, it's text, because it's bandwidth limited. Bandwidth limited. In fact, it was these limitations that characterized almost everything about how you interacted with old-timey computers. Now, telnet, turned out, is insecure. And what's worse is that no one's connecting directly over phone lines anymore. They're connecting through this cloud that's sitting in the middle, called the net, or the internet, which also is not very secure. So what happened is that this old telnet way of connecting through type-in text has been replaced. The word you'll most often hear is SSH, or perhaps SSH shell, which is a little redundant because it's talking about a secure shell. That S stands for secure, and it encrypts the communication so that when it goes out over the net, goes to the hardware, and communicates back, all the communication is encrypted. But now you can use this from almost anywhere. From anywhere. And this is important because one of the next steps we're going to do to teach you how to program in timeless fashion is to use an SSH shell, and there's a lot of them out there. If you're on a PC, it's known as PuTTY. If you're on a Mac or a Linux machine, it's actually built in as the terminal. And we're going to connect to a piece of hardware that is actually a virtual machine in order to get your first experience connecting through a terminal. Thank you.